Ford's greatest and most significant V8 engines of all time. Henry Ford may have believed that the only car anyone in the world needed was the Model T, but the Ford Motor Company has proven time and again that there's so much more to offer, especially under the hood. From special editions to groundbreaking engine designs, Ford has crafted some of the greatest engines of all time. Today, we're diving into the greatest Ford V8 engines. Those iconic powerhouses that shaped the muscle car world and continue to ignite the passion of millions of enthusiasts. From game-changing legends like the Flathead V8 to modern engineering marvels like the EcoBoost, these engines have left an indelible mark on automotive history. But which one do you think truly stands out as the most significant Ford engine of all time? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Muscle Car Masters. Let's get started. Flathead V8. What makes an engine truly legendary? The Ford Flathead V8, introduced in 1932, is undeniably one of the greatest Ford engines of all time and a groundbreaking symbol in American automotive history. Known as the first mass-produced V8 engine to bring affordable power to the masses, the Flathead V8 made waves by offering what other engines of the era could not: simple, reliable, and accessible V8 performance to everyday drivers. The most significant Ford engine of its time, the Flathead V8 came with a 221 cubic inch displacement with 3.6 liters that initially produced 65 horsepower, eventually evolving to 239 cubic inches with 100 horsepower by the 1950s. The design of the Flathead V8 was revolutionary because of its side valve configuration, where the intake and exhaust valves sat beside the cylinders instead of atop them. This gave it a lower compression ratio and an easier-to-produce flat cylinder head, which helped reduce costs, making V8 power attainable for more Americans. Despite the airflow limitations that came with the Flathead design, the engine's simple yet robust architecture made it a favorite among early hot rodders who appreciated its tunable performance and reliability. During World War II, the Flathead's reliability even earned it a spot under the hoods of military vehicles, further cementing its place as one of the best Ford engines of all time. The Flathead V8 had its quirks, such as overheating and airflow challenges, but it still managed to set land speed records and become a staple for custom builds and drag racing. The powerful rumble, smooth operation, and durability of this V8 engine have allowed its iconic status to endure even today. 428 Cobra Jet. What makes an engine one of the greatest Ford engines of all time? The 428 Cobra Jet is the embodiment of raw muscle, torque, and power, a key player in Ford's performance heritage and among the most significant Ford engines ever produced. Introduced in 1968, the 428 Cobra Jet was Ford's answer to the muscle car wars of the late 1960s, developed to dominate the drag strips and streets alike. This powerhouse boasted a 428 cubic inch V8 that produced an underrated 335 horsepower. But insiders knew its true output was much higher, closer to 410 horsepower in factory trim. This engine was a game-changer, born to deliver serious performance while keeping costs relatively low compared to high-end competitors. What made the Cobra Jet stand out from the crowd of V8 contenders was its focus on efficiency and sheer power. It featured a high-rise intake manifold, larger valve heads, and an aggressive camshaft profile. Design elements that optimized airflow to deliver incredible torque at low RPM, making it perfect for drag racing and stoplight sprints. Its Holley 735 CFM 4-barrel carburetor and cast-iron cylinder heads worked in harmony to give the 428 Cobra Jet a distinct character, turning any car it powered, such as the Mustang, Torino, or Fairlane, into a straight-line beast that could compete with any muscle car of its era. The 428 Cobra Jet was more than just a powerhouse. It was a statement by Ford that they were ready to play with the big boys in the performance market. It stood proudly among the best Ford engines for its remarkable torque, 440 pound-feet at just 3,400 RPM, and reliability that gave drivers confidence at high speed. Whether cruising down highways or launching at the drag strip, the Cobra Jet gave enthusiasts what they wanted: unbeatable power and performance that is still revered today. 427 V8. How do you define a true racing legend? The Ford 427 V8, produced from 1963 to 1968, was one of the most significant Ford engines that changed the game both on the racetrack and the street. Born from Ford's FE big block family, the 427 V8 was engineered with one mission: to dominate. This greatest Ford engine didn't just exist in name, it roared its way into history, powering iconic cars from the Ford Galaxy to the Shelby Cobra 427, and even the GT40 that took on Ferrari at Le Mans. The 427 V8 was a beast beneath the hood, featuring a 4.23-inch bore and a 3.78-inch stroke, designed for high-revving power while maintaining durability. With a 12.5-to-1 compression ratio, it packed an impressive 425 horsepower in dual-carb configurations and produced up to 480 pound-feet of torque. Its solid lifters, cross-bolted main bearing caps, and a high nickel content block made it incredibly strong, an attribute that allowed it to thrive in racing conditions. The later addition of a side oiler system addressed early lubrication issues, further refining this powerhouse into one of the best Ford engines of its time. On the track, the 427 V8 made its mark in NASCAR, NHRA, and international endurance racing, becoming a key part of the legendary Ford GT40's multiple victories at Le Mans from 1966 to 1969. With its 485 horsepower and a re-engineered oil distribution system, the 427 V8 ran at high RPMs for hours, powering Ford to 4 consecutive Le Mans wins. Its collaboration with Carroll Shelby brought us the Shelby Cobra 427, a car capable of blistering acceleration 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 4 seconds. Additionally, the Shelby Cobra 427 went 0 to 100 miles per hour in just 15.6 seconds. Today, even more than 50 years later, these performance figures are still very impressive, making it a true symbol of American muscle and innovation. Boss 429. What makes a V8 truly iconic? The Boss 429, introduced in 1969, stands as one of the most significant and misunderstood Ford engines ever created, with a unique backstory rooted in the fierce competition of NASCAR. Misunderstood? Why? If you have watched my previous video, then you know exactly why it's called the most misunderstood Boss 429 engine. At that time, Ford's goal was clear: develop a powerful engine to compete with Chrysler's 426 Hemi. The result? The Boss 429, an engineering marvel, shoehorned into the Mustang by the experts at CarCraft to satisfy NASCAR homologation requirements. This engine was so massive that extensive modifications were needed to fit it, from widening the Mustang's shock towers to relocating the battery to the trunk. The Boss 429 engine was built to be a powerhouse. It featured a forged steel crankshaft, hemispherical combustion chambers, and massive valves, all geared towards high RPM performance. Officially rated at 375 horsepower, the true output was closer to 500, making it one of the greatest Ford engines of its time. Despite its performance on paper, The Boss 429 faced challenges on the street. The engine, designed to breathe freely at high RPMs, often felt underwhelming at lower speeds, lacking the low-end torque that defined other muscle cars of its era. Although it wasn't the best engine for daily driving, the Boss 429 shone on the racetrack, winning over half of the NASCAR races it entered in 1969. 2.3-liter four-cylinder. The Ford 2.3-liter inline-4, also known as the Lima engine, is a testament to versatility and resilience. Spanning over 2 decades of production, from 1974 to 1997, this most significant Ford engine proved itself not only as a workhorse for fuel-efficient cars, but also as a formidable player in the performance scene. Initially designed for efficiency amidst the fuel crises of the 1970s, the 2.3-liter quickly showed it had much more to offer. With its 3.78-inch bore and 3.12-inch stroke, the cast-iron block featured a simple but durable single overhead camshaft design, making it highly adaptable. The engine debuted in the Pinto with just over 100 horsepower, but it wasn't long before its potential for power was fully realized. By the mid-1980s, the turbocharged version of the Lima engine delivered impressive performance in cars like the Mustang SVO, which cranked out up to 205 horsepower and 248 pound-feet of torque. The addition of a Garrett TO3 turbocharger and an air-to-air intercooler turned this engine into a serious contender, enough to be featured in the iconic Ford Mustang and even the European Merkur XR4 Ti. Despite its humble origins, the 2.3-liter played a significant role in motorsports. The turbocharged versions became the heart of many performance models, and even in its naturally aspirated form, it proved reliable and rugged, qualities that hot rodders love. The engine's durability was enhanced through upgrades like a switch to a distributorless ignition system in 1989 and fuel injection replacing carburetors in 1985. Boss 302. The Ford Boss 302, produced in 1969 and 1970, stands tall among the greatest Ford engines of all time. Specifically designed to take on Chevrolet in SCCA Trans Am racing, the Boss 302 wasn't just an engine. It was a testament to Ford's determination to dominate. Built on the foundations of the Windsor small block, the Boss 302 featured specially designed Cleveland heads, a high-rise intake, and a 10.5-to-1 compression ratio, allowing it to deliver a formidable 290 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. The solid lifter camshaft, forged steel components, and aggressive head design made it a true racing engine that performed just as well on the track as it did on the street. The most significant Ford engine of its time, the Boss 302 didn't just power any Mustang, it was the heart of the Boss 302 Mustang, a car that remains a symbol of the golden age of muscle cars. Its purpose was clear, to put Chevrolet in its place, and it did just that by competing fiercely in the Trans Am series. The engine's high-revving nature, capable of sustaining power well into the upper RPM range, made it a dream for performance enthusiasts. Though its production run was brief, the impact of the Boss 302 was immense, ensuring its legacy as one of the best Ford engines ever produced, a symbol of performance, engineering prowess, and the spirit of competition that defined Ford's muscle car era. 5.0-liter 302 cubic inch V8. The Ford 5.0-liter, also known as the 302 cubic inch Windsor, is undoubtedly one of the greatest Ford engines of all time. Introduced in 1968, this most significant Ford engine gained its legendary status by powering an incredibly diverse range of vehicles, from the classic Mustang to Ford's reliable trucks and SUVs. With its blend of performance, reliability, and sheer versatility, the 302 reigned for over 3 decades as a staple in Ford's lineup. The 302 V8 began life with a 9.5:1 compression ratio, producing 220 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, featuring a two-barrel carburetor for its initial versions. Throughout the 1970s, the engine faced emission regulations that gradually reduced its power output, dropping as low as 122 horsepower by the mid-1970s. Despite these challenges, the 5.0 made a strong comeback in the 1980s with the high-output version. By incorporating improvements like hydraulic roller lifters, new cylinder heads, and multi-port fuel injection, Ford managed to push the 5.0 HO to 225 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque by 1987, making it a popular choice for the Mustang GT and other performance models. Known for its broad power band, the 5.0 V8 delivered solid torque at low RPMs, making it ideal for both spirited driving and towing in heavier vehicles. The adoption of electronic fuel injection in the 1980s improved both efficiency and drivability, allowing the engine to evolve with the times. Its versatility ensured that the 5.0 was just as at home in a powerful Mustang as it was in a rugged Ford Explorer. And it became one of the best Ford engines ever produced, with millions of units finding their way under hoods around the world until its final appearance in the 2001 Ford Explorer. EcoBoost 3.5-liter V6. How do you make an engine that blends performance with efficiency, setting a new standard for the modern age? The EcoBoost 3.5-liter V6, introduced in 2010, is one of the most significant Ford engines in recent history. Dubbed Twin Force during its early concept stages, this twin turbocharged V6 was designed to deliver the power of a much larger V8 while being up to 15% more fuel efficient. With up to 660 horsepower in its latest high-performance form, it's no wonder why the EcoBoost V6 is considered one of the greatest Ford engines of the 21st century. The 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 was initially introduced to power the Taurus SHO and Lincoln luxury models before making its way into Ford's iconic F-150 pickup. Featuring technologies like direct injection, turbocharging, and a forged crankshaft, it produced up to 365 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the most versatile engines in Ford's lineup. Whether powering a high-performance Ford GT with 660 horsepower or providing efficient strength for the F-150, this engine brought reliability and impressive power to the table. The Gen 2 and Gen 3 iterations further refined its capabilities, adding dual injection systems, larger turbos, and advanced timing systems. We've just explored some of the greatest Ford engines, powerful V8s that have defined what it means to be an American muscle car. From the timeless Flathead V8 that started it all, to the modern marvel that is the EcoBoost, each engine tells a story of innovation, speed, and pure passion for driving. But we know the conversation doesn't end here. Which of these engines do you think deserves the crown as the best Ford engine of all time? Or is there another iconic Ford engine that you feel deserves recognition? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through Ford's legendary engines, give us a like, share with fellow car enthusiasts, and subscribe to Muscle Car Masters for more deep dives into the heart of muscle car history. See you next great video.